Hey there, my name is Justin, and I'm one of the co-founders of VenturePOP Conference in New Orleans. On today's episode, we'll be chatting with Robert Warren, founder of Gigsy Co. He's created a photography company with a social good mission. Let's dive right in. All right, so I'm so happy to have Robert Warren here with me today. How are you, man?
I'm doing really well. I hope you've been well as well, dude.
Man, I've been keeping so busy, and you're the busiest guy I know. So wait, what have you been working on these days?
Man, I have been making that transition from doing a lot of like fee-for-service type work to now going to a lot of like contracted work.
Oh,
So
that's
figuring out
interesting.
all of that stuff that entails.
So I've known you in many versions of your life. First as an educator, and then you moved into doing photography, and now you run a startup. Tell the VenturePOP audience more about what you're doing.
Absolutely. So, like you say, I run a startup. It's called Gigsy, and we live online at gigsy.co. And you can think of us like a professional photography booking service. Essentially, that's what we do. You come to... What's that?
I said that's incredible.
Yeah, I think so too. We're working on it. So our idea is this. Folks everywhere are having events, and they need a vetted way to get a professional photographer. We can be a trusted platform with standardized pricing, standardized booking, and make that whole process seamless. So the plus one that I couldn't get rid of because I have that background as an educator is that we've designed this company to also be a training and employment platform for youth photographers.
Wow. So you have a social good part of your business. That's really incredible.
That's it. So anytime we get a booking, so for instance, next week we're going to be doing some shooting with the Cowan Institute over at Tulane. We hook up one of our photographers, so Travin is going to be out there shooting for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then we get a couple of our youth photographers who are doing a summer internship. They come by the office, get set up with the gear, they head out, and now they get a paid gig on assignment working with Travin, who's a professional photographer.
Wow, that's such a big deal.
It's fun, man. I think, and this is the city to do it, because we're all about education, we're all about startups, so, the more the merrier, let's put it together.
What age are the students you're working with?
They're high school or just out of high school.
Perfect.
So the reason we were going there is because we wanted to make sure that we could work with kids while they were actually in school.
Yes.
And that way it's like a triple whammy. You get school credit, you get paid, and you get a professional internship, like mentorship with it.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect, man. What has been the best part of running the company so far?
Do you know what it was?
What?
It was sitting back, and one of our youth photographers, Torres, came in about 8 months ago and had never touched a professional grade DSLR, not in his life. And just last month, I wasn't able to do a shoot because I was actually participating in the event that they wanted us to shoot.
Yeah.
It was for a fellowship out of 4.0 schools.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there in this room and looking around at all these other fellows, and I'm just watching Torres, camera in tow, whip around and hit an angle, find a lane, wait, see somebody laugh, make an expression, and take that picture. And just sitting there and thinking to myself, like, this kid is really killing it.
Yeah.
Like, this is a 17-year-old kid who, with like full confidence, is out there doing the things that a professional would be doing.
Yeah.
It was so cool just to have your hands off the wheel and to have like full faith in somebody that was really engaged, really enjoying what they were doing. So that to me was one of the best experiences I've had with Gigsy.
That's so moving. I wish that we had that when I was growing up. Like, I mean, we had all of our normal painting and drawing classes, but photography always felt like this kind of foreign, weird thing that I never understood until I became an adult.
It's like you have to grow into it, right? I think
Yeah.
a lot of people experience that because photography, you like search online, you're like, okay, I gotta get a camera, and then you're like $3,000. You're like, nope, don't have to get a camera. And that's a real barrier to entry.
Yeah.
How do you give everybody accessibility to the arts?
Yes.
When for photographers, our accessibility, our barrier to entry might be $2,000 worth of gear.
Yes.
So can we remove that? Can we give somebody access to the equipment and just say, hey, we want you to be creative. we're not going to put you in a position where you have to front all this cash just to play the game.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then they learn and they have a skill that they can use for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and here's the secret, actually. The secret is that if you don't want to become just like a totally boring business person,
Yeah.
like surround yourself with kids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because kids are hilarious. Like, there's always something going on. Like, I have like random conversations in the office about like Snapchat or like who had a crush on somebody, and like it just keeps things vibrant. Like, you can't take yourself too seriously when you have a 17-year-old around you, who's like learning something, and everything to them is new and everything is fun. And a couple weeks ago, one of the other students turns over and they go like, "Hey, yo, Mr. Robert." I was like, "What's up?" They say, "Well, why didn't you tell us that editing is so cool?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Editing is cool. This is really fun."
That's dope.
That's the secret. The secret is I get a lot out of it.
I follow your Snapchat, and I always see your kids never want to be snapped. Like,
it's hilarious. It's so funny. That's the running theme, is that I'm usually talking into the camera saying like, "Oh, hey, like Taravia's here," and then she's like, "Oh, get out there."
That's incredible. So I want to dive into the meat of this today's topic. You're going to teach our VenturePOP audience 3 essential tips that they can implement directly into their business. Let's talk about tip number 1.
Exactly. I want to be a little like conceptual, because to me, I know when I was just starting out, I really wanted to know like what are the principles?
Okay.
Like what are like the ground rules that I can apply to different situations?
Yeah.
I think that like the first one that really, really strikes me is that execution is always more important than whatever your big idea is.
Say more.
So I've heard it said in a different way. I've heard people say that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the same thing. Is that execution is always more important than your idea, because part of what we're doing as entrepreneurs is that we're creating new value.
Yes.
And just the nature of the beast when you're creating new value is that you don't necessarily know where the top of the mountain is.
Yes.
Because we're doing something different. We're not out here just trying to get to the top. We're out here trying to build a new peak, trying to find where's new value, where is the new place to go. And if we get so caught up in what our idea is, or what the answer that we think we have, we wind up losing a lot of the signals that tell us what we really ought to be doing.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean,
So
I think a lot of creative entrepreneurs kind of get caught up in the fact that they don't really finish projects. They just start a whole bunch of projects. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think that's a negative at all. The first thing I did when I was going to be full-time just doing this photography thing, before Gigsy was even an idea, before I even thought of bringing those worlds together, was I was totally convinced that I was going to make an online course that would teach people how to shoot professional photography and edit professional photography. I'd teach them the whole process, all the workflow, and I would sell it for like $200, $300, be a fantastic course, and people would love it. And I would just kind of sit back and just let the money flow in, and like the work had been done. I took the entire month of August in this boiling hot apartment because I had to turn the AC off because I didn't want the drone and the microphones when I set up the studio. So I would set this camera studio up, this whole rig with the lights, and then I would turn the AC unit off, and then I would just be like doing 3 or 4 takes of this thing, just explaining the different processes of how to utilize the camera.
Yeah.
And I took the whole month of August, put this thing together, designed the curriculum, shot the footage, hosted the footage on this website, did all the little bits and pieces, and I put it up live, and I got set to run a beta test, and I got people on board under the beta test, and people said, "Oh, this is cool." And then nobody finished it. Nobody finished it. And I was like, oh God, I just spent. So it could be like a huge L. Like, it could be a huge L in your books. But the reality is that if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been putting in the practice of all these little things that were happening. I was learning the platform. I was learning my gear. I was learning lighting. I was learning miking. Like the number of times that I goofed something up or I made a mistake in the production or the post process where I was just burning hours and just like getting down on myself because I felt like I was wasting time. that is the journey. Like, that's the process. So you need to execute. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your idea makes $1 billion in a month or not. It really doesn't. It matters if you go through and you execute.
Yeah.
Because an execution means that next idea that you get. So when I come back and I say, okay, I'm not going to do an online course anymore, maybe I can go now and start doing like events photography.
Yeah.
Okay, so start doing that. I say, oh no, I get some traction. Now people are into it. Say, okay, well, what if I do events photography through specific venues?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going and I say, well, what if I want to teach people? I should give workshops, right? If I can't do it online, I should do it in person. So maybe I'll talk to the people who want to hire me and teach them a little bit, and then they'll hire me for the pro stuff.
Yeah.
I'm literally in the office that I'm sitting in right now is where Gigsy was born. Because I had just given a workshop teaching maybe 7 or 8 people who paid like $10, $15 a pop to learn what I had put on this online course.
Yeah.
Which is like, holy smokes, they actually like paid me for it. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I'm on my way out and I bump into this teacher that I had known in a prior life as an educator, and we're just kind of chatting back and forth with each other, and he mentions that he's starting a school.
Oh, wow.
A school that's focused on vocational training in high-tech industries.
Yes.
I said, well, I've been doing these photography lessons. Do you think I could work with some of your students? And there it was.
That's awesome.
I already had the curriculum because I had done it. I had already practiced it with people. I already knew it was something that people would buy from like just the typical market sense.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I had a school that was willing to pay me to train the students.
Yeah.
And then the students that would be interested in going out and participating in this market experiment, the actual shooting.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think the key, though, that we need to hone in on, and that's what's so important about what you said, is that you actually did finish the online course, that very first online course. And I think that's the key. It's like kind of making these small versions of a project that you can actually literally accomplish. And that's kind of that difference that I think so many creative entrepreneurs have to hone in on. It's like, what can I complete as a finalized product,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. A product that's done at 80% is 1,000 times better than a product that never gets released at 90%.
That's so true. That's so true.
Because you're going to tweak it.
And you're going to grow and you're going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as well as I do that, just in the creative line of work that we're working in already, if you go to a client and a client comes back to you and says like, well, can you adjust this thing? I mean, we're all more than happy to go make that adjustment because we want happy clients. So the reality is that when we apply that to our business, we're doing the same thing. We're constantly making little tweaks.
Completely true. Let's talk about tip number 2.
Let's do it. Tip number 2. This is like a pretty straight freelance tip.
Okay.
Kind of harkening back to what I was saying about the contracts piece. But I think that you should always bid higher than what you would pay for yourself.
That's like a hashtag preach moment right there. Like, I think every freelancer, every creative entrepreneur, everyone everywhere needs to hear what you have to say. Say that one more time.
Dude, always bid higher. Whatever you say that like, oh, I'd be happy with this much money, throw 50% on top of that.
Yeah.
Because you're underbidding yourself. You're underbidding yourself. I heard a wedding photographer said that if you can afford yourself for your own wedding, raise your rates.
Wow, that's good.
And people are super averse to that. They say like, well, I just don't want people to think I'm bullying them, that I'm super money hungry, that I'm taking advantage of them, which is a real fear. Mm-hmm. But people never ask the opposite question, which is, if I charge you $1,000 instead of $500, how much better work am I going to do?
Yeah. I run into that a lot with my own business. I found that all of the times that I've negotiated down on my price, I've always been like just a tad bit resentful throughout the process. Yeah. And like on the other extreme, like when I feel like I'm charging like what I'm actually worth, it literally, I will do endless revisions because I'm just so happy to be working with this client that values me,
Yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. If you ever do that, I'm just going to give you family pricing.
Yeah.
No.
I always regret it.
I don't know why we call it family pricing, because you know how it is after you spend a week with all your family in one place. Everybody's driving each other nuts anyway. On top of that, if I can even go like the next level on that, wherever you're at in like your level of proficiency, stop doing portfolio building work.
Yes.
So this is, I see it specifically in like the photo world, where I'll talk with a client and they'll say, well, we have this young guy, this young girl that was just going to do our whole season for free. And you go, well, okay, have fun.
Yeah, you should have hired them.
I can't compete with free. But it creates like a couple of different problems, right? So the one problem it creates is that I understand why like a young person is doing that, because they're trying to build value, they're trying to build reputation.
Yeah.
I think if you want to do free work, you should do it as a promotional trade, or you should do it as some sort of like service in kind, right?
Yeah.
Never just like straight free, I want to do this so that I can get my portfolio built out. Maybe you do it like, I know that through Gigsy, we always donate our services to the Innocence Project in New Orleans,
Yes.
right? So they're an exoneration. They do exonerations for folks that are serving life sentences. That to us is like part of our social mission. We're also like a much larger company, so it's not like the case that we're trying to present like an image, but there's an exchange that happens between us. It's like goodwill and good service is like two equals.
Yeah.
If you come to somebody and you say, I'm going to do it to you for free, or do it for you for free, you're not really coming to them as an equal. You're not really coming to them as a professional. You're coming to them as somebody who is, in a certain sense, and I know it's kind of like a, maybe not the nicest way to say it, but it's almost like you're trying to get a come up off of their brand. Completely
true.
And you're sort of devaluing the quality of your own work.
Yes. Also, I mean, exposure does not pay the rent. And I always think that's like, in the simplest sense, every time someone says you're going to get a whole bunch of exposure from a job, you never are going to get a whole bunch of exposure from a job. All you're going to get is a whole bunch of people asking you to do the same thing you did for free for them, for free for someone else, you know?
Exactly. You make it harder for yourself and for the other professionals down the line.
Yeah. That's a good one. I love that.
You could tell I rehearsed, man.
So what's tip number 3?
Tip number 3, and I have to admit I'm still learning this one.
Okay.
It's to stop doing it all yourself.
Oh.
So what does that look like, right? And I know is like, we are like small business owners, we're small teams, we're independent creators. We don't have to do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly trying to remind myself. I know there's like a decision making tool that folks often use called like the Eisenhower box.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Break it down.
On one axis, it's how urgent are these things.
Okay.
And then on the other axis is how important are these things.
Okay.
Right? So if something is urgent and it's important, then you do it. If something is important but it's not urgent, then you schedule it. You say, get done at this time. If something's not important and it is urgent, so it's not important to you, but it's urgent, it needs to get done, then you delegate it. Somebody else can do it. If something is not urgent, I'm like living in this hypothetical box. Thank you for coming with me. If it's not urgent and not important, then get rid of it. Stop worrying about it, right?
Oh, I love it. That's good.
And I'm definitely still learning it, because there are things that are urgent, but it's not necessarily the best place to invest my time or invest my energy.
Yeah.
So even as like, if your business is going to always be no bigger than just you, there are still things that you can outsource that you will pay for that will maybe not give you, if I pay $200 to get somebody to do my books every month, that's money that I'm spending that I may not see it back, like marketing out, marketing in, but what I get in terms of the quality assurance and the peace of mind in being able to focus on one thing for a longer amount of time, that's the real trade-off. It's not really a monetary trade-off. It has to do with you're not doing it all yourself. So instead of focusing on 6 things, you can really focus on what's good and what drives the value of your brand.
That's so important. I mean, if everybody did the thing that they were the best at the most, how much further, how much bigger, how much better would your business be, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And we always get caught up, because even like, here's like the really tricky thing, right? There are things that we like to do that aren't the best use of our time.
Yeah.
But we default to those because we think that like, because that feels like progress, right? It feels like we're doing something effective, like, oh, this is important. I'm writing this email. I'm talking to this customer. But there are certain things that you can, I think maybe even we're like scared because we don't know what we'll do with the downtime.
Yeah. Yeah. What would I do if I had
To be
time
totally
to think?
honest, if I really had the time to think and I wasn't cranking out these emails, I would just be creating more stuff,
Yeah.
right?
I actually have been going through a kind of similar thing. Personally, my to-do lists were getting like out of control. It would be like 30 things I wanted to accomplish in the week, and then somehow on the day-to-day that would turn into like 15 little bullet points that I had to do. And I've been like radically decreasing the amount of things that I add to my to-do list every day,
Nice.
just so that I feel like I'm actually accomplishing the things that make more sense.
Yes.
And so recently, it's kind of gone down to being about 5 things on my to-do list every day, which means I can give every single thing like its own full hour or a little bit more. Which is like incredible. It just has like completely changed the way that I think about doing things. And in some ways, I'm kind of clustering those 15 things that I was doing before. But I'm giving myself like a regimented, specific hour and 15 minutes to work on VenturePOP, hour and 15 minutes to work on a client project, hour and 15 minutes to do like my own branding and marketing for Justin Shields, the brand. And I feel like that has become that kind of difference in me getting more things done that are more meaningful.
I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Because at the end of the day, if you work, what you're doing is you've really got a way to, by using focus and by using just disciplined blocks of time, take what would be an 8-hour day where you felt distracted because you were constantly multitasking or switching between tasks.
Yeah.
Those are the same thing. Multitasking and switching between tasks.
Multitasking
We'll just play it off.
is when you're doing the same thing. Well, you're doing more than one thing at one time, like watching TV and playing on your iPhone.
There you go.
Switching between tasks is literally just switching between tasks.
Oh,
right?
that makes me feel a lot better. I appreciate that.
I'm the type of person that I'm gonna help you win.
Yep. I felt that alley-oop right there. That was good. All the way up. No, I lost my point. Oh, goodness. I totally forgot it.
People are always...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so here's the point. So at the end of the day, you have now disciplined yourself so that you have worked for 6.5 hours, but you've worked well instead of 8 hours, meh, kind of, or 10 hours, meh, or 12 hours, meh. Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, like, yeah, we work. Somebody told me that entrepreneurship is the only job where you give up a 40-hour a week to work 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
Which is true, but the reality is that like it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
And if you can get as much done in that sort of time frame, I think that I'm gonna have to learn your strategies.
I mean, it was your tip. I just wanted to like build on it, man.
I'm still learning it. I've been messing around with the calendars, with the just like really discrete goal setting. Yeah. Like you said, doing like 5 things a day. I've tried to hit like three like mini projects that I hit each day, and then at the end of it say like, okay, I did it. Because if we think about it like training, right? It's like you don't want to lift heavy every day.
Yeah.
Like you don't do sprints every day.
Yeah.
But in business, we're kind of like, oh, I have to go hard every day. No, you don't. Like today's a rest day. Today's cardio. Tomorrow's strength.
Yeah.
So we need to like give ourselves the strategies to be able to think about it like that.
That's a good way to think about it. I mean, I think there's this kind of, especially in startup culture and in independent solopreneur culture, where you should be working 12, 14 hours a day. And there are these big mega brands like Gary Vee that are kind of pushing this idea that like, work. And it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of on like this other extreme almost, where I'm like, man, if I can't do it in 8 hours a day, like, I don't know. I literally can't work more than 8 hours in a day. So I've kind of decided that like, if that's my truth, and that means I need to like go take a break in the middle of the day and then work later into the night, like that's what I've got to do, you know?
Just work smarter. Really just know yourself and work smarter.
Yeah. Oh man.
Maybe that's a new thing. Maybe that's a New Orleans thing that we can coin.
Okay. Yeah,
laissez-faire entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can work on that. We
You need to
can.
like add TM to the end of
There we go.
that. Dude,
Like
this has
rising
been
time.
incredible, and I feel like number one, I could talk to you for like 100 years about everything because we have been going through this entrepreneurship growth kind of at the same time, and ever since I've met you, we've just both been like plugging away, building our
Hustling.
businesses.
All I see is you coming out with the new ideas, producing new events. The branding is always on point. The images are always beautiful.
And you have been building this incredible company that has a social good mission, and I think it's incredible. It's such a big deal. So to close us out, are you working on anything new right now?
We have something that's like tentative. It's
Okay.
like kind of in the works, which might be a super cool idea. Uh,
Give me the lowdown.
there's a possibility that we will be spending the month of August and September working on a photo voice project
Ooh.
with
Okay.
the city of New Orleans.
That's a big deal.
So they hit us up about a grant that they had, and they were looking for somebody to come in and use youth photographers to participate with this new retirement community that's in Holly Grove.
Wow. So a
So the month of August and
cross-generational
September.
project.
Huge cross-generational project where we have our student photographers not only taking pictures of and with the folks that are living in this retirement community,
Yeah.
but then we would be teaching the folks in the retirement community
Wow.
the basics of the camera gear. The students would be helping teach them as well.
Yeah.
And then we would produce an actual gallery show and then find a place where we could hang it that would highlight the student work and then highlight the work of the folks in our elders in the community. And it would all be interwoven with our stories about why these photos are meaningful and our experiences in producing them and just sort of exploring what the city means to folks of different generations.
I love it. That's incredible.
So we're in the works. I'm super excited. I'll have to get back to you when we start doing the shooting and the training.
Oh, please let me know. That's really exciting. So how can our audience find you online?
All right. You can find us either at our website, which is Gigsy, Gigsy.co. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, or you can just email me, rob@gigsy.co. I tend to be, I don't know, man. Everybody's using Slack now. I can't really keep up.
I
just
love
want an
Slack.
email.
I'm
I
in
just
the
want a
Slack
text.
channel that you created.
Oh, man. I know. And then I'm like, oh, there's too many updates. I can't handle it.
Dude, so there's a desktop app for Slack, and so we use Slack for VenturePOP for our planning. It is the best tool I have, period. Like, we've created individual channels for all of our different things that we do for the conference. So there might be one for marketing and promotion. We have one for our Instagram challenge, for this video series that we're doing, general things. And like literally, like it's open on my computer all the time. I run it just like I would like a chat feature, but it is perfect, and I just turn it off if I don't want to be interrupted.
I don't think I have the self-control of you, man. I'm like one of Pavlov's dogs. Every time that bell goes off, I'm like, oh, what's happening? 45 minutes later, I'm just like, why am I looking at Indiegogos for self-driving bicycles? Like, oh, it was Slack. Slack was what did it.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, thank you so much for your time, Robert. This has been incredible.
Absolutely.
And we are so looking forward to VenturePOP. We are beyond excited to have the New Orleans community invested in this conference that we're doing, and we're looking forward to seeing you there so that everybody can meet you in person.
Super excited, man. I really love that you've been able to create that community and really bring some coherence to it. I think it's something so important for people in our generation, especially as digital babies. We're all doing digital media. I think VenturePOP series is bar none the premier go-to in the city of New Orleans for those solopreneurs, those creators.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. All right, you have a good night.
You too, man.
Bye.
Bye.
VenturePOP is a 2-day conference designed to gather creatives with the guts and grit to grow their business. The event takes place September 17th and 18th at the incredible New Orleans Jazz Market. Purchasing a ticket for VenturePOP is more than an excuse for a lively weekend in New Orleans. It's an investment in you and your business. Expect 2 days of dynamic programming with top-notch speakers and networking with creative entrepreneurs just like you. Our goal is to help you build a sustainable creative business that intersects with your purpose. You can purchase tickets online at VenturePOPconference.com. We're looking forward to seeing you.